Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jaime Tardy, and I am really excited to have Dr. Mannino on the show today. He runs a site called Quantum Emergence, but he also has the largest solo chiropractor practice in all of the US. Plus, he's all into neuroscience and a performance coach, author, speaker, all sorts of fun stuff. I cannot wait to talk to you today. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jaime. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I love that you're a doctor, right? And that you really dived into the science of this. So can you sort of give us a down low on growth? Like, how does the brain deal with growth in business? I want to jump right into it.
Yeah, great question. The exciting thing for me was learning in chiropractic school that the nervous system is the master control system. Nothing happens without it. And so I took that principle. Well, if it controls healing and repair and regeneration and renewal to cells and tissues, well, maybe it can help me with other things like, expand my consciousness and ability to learn and, produce and perform. And that was sort of the headspace that I had coming out of school, and really sort of put that to the test. And what they really sort of drilled into us in chiropractic school is that there are principles that govern healing, not a pill or not an exercise or not, certain techniques or strategies. There are principles that govern how the body heals and repairs. There's a lot of different ways you can activate that, but ultimately it falls into that. And so personal growth, I took the exact same approach with personal growth, business growth, professional. There are principles that govern and dictate how fast or how easy people grow every area of their life. And to me, it was like, wow, what a burden, off my shoulders. It's not my responsibility to make money and perform and grow my business. It's the principle. It's my job to learn the principle and apply it properly.
So now everybody wants to know, what are the principles? They're like, oh, wait, give me the magic secret, right? It's not the pill. Right, I want the magic secret. So tell us what the principles are.
Well, so there's basically, through my journey, I've sort of discovered, 8 specific ones that deal with prosperity and growth and abundance and those things. And it was, I would say a lot of things people they sort of understand in this idea of exchanging value. The principal doesn't know if you're a chiropractor, a plumber, an online marketer, has no flipping clue what those things are. The only thing that really takes our focus off of the principle is our head, because we're looking for the how-tos. The principle simply says, are you exchanging value? Are you meeting a need? Are you serving? Are you contributing in a way that helps someone else, solve their problems or eliminate pain or whatever? That's sort of what the principle is looking for. Is there an exchange of value? You produce value. And the principle says, as you do that, I'm going to return value back to you exceedingly abundantly more than you initially sowed. It's just like the law of seed time and harvest type thing. You give up that seed, you'll never see that seed again. It's gone, right? But what do you get in return? A whole field of plants with seeds. And that's sort of the process. So it's when I coach and train, I really challenge people to get out of their head, quit looking at the model, the system, the strategy, the structure, the how-to, and really get connected with what you have uniquely and specifically that adds value to someone. And that's sort of the secret sauce. And that's what most of the time people who are really, and that's sort of the irony or the paradox, because, entrepreneurs and people who are self-employed and really making things happen really rely on their conscious mind, rely on their intellect and their strategies and their how-tos and all these things. And their little heart, or their big heart rather, that has all the answers, is sort of put off to the side, the passion. And I call it the treasure chest. I said we all were walking around with this treasure chest of gifts and talents and abilities. And until we lock that puppy, it's really hard to be, you can create success doing anything, but what about the bigger, aspects of business growth and success? Happiness, joy, fulfillment, those types of things. And that only comes if we're really connected to that that treasure.
I love that analogy. Though I want to dive a little bit deeper into the first principle really quick, because a lot of people will go, well, I feel like I'm delivering value, but maybe the market isn't responding like it's value. Or maybe, you know what I mean? I've had a lot of people, especially at the beginning, that are like, I'm putting this out there and people aren't biting. So like it's valuable and either I can't find the people to pay for it or they won't pay for it or it's too expensive or whatever it is, they're getting something back in return. How do we know that we've got that value enough to click to go to the next one?
Yeah, another great question. And what I say is it's almost like you working backwards. It's saying, okay, based on value, what do I know? What can I connect with my gifts, my talents, my abilities? And that's sometimes a difficult question because we're so used to them. They're part of us. We take them for granted. It's just like, oh yeah, well I can, example, my brother, he's this consummate artist, and he literally can listen to a song and play it on the piano without any music, without any, train. It's just like this gift. But he thinks everybody can do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, do you realize what you're doing? It's like, what do you mean? You're like, no big deal. And it's a big process for a lot of people is get connected with that thing first and then work backwards to, all right, how can this solve a problem? What areas of my life have I used it to solve problems for me? And now we're getting into that emotional connection with people. And then the third part is, well, what's the delivery? What's the package? I've got the solution, but everybody's focused on their pain, right? They're wanting the pain or the symptom to go away. In my chiropractic practice, people walk in with headaches and back pain and everything else. And it's like, but I have this powerful adjustment. They are not looking for an adjustment. They're looking for what makes my pain go away. So I've got to bring those two together that says, you have your pain, I have this service, but I know you don't understand what this is or how it works or why this is important, but let's try to bring these together in a way that you need this, but you don't, you'll take anything right now that makes this pain go away, even though this is really the thing that's going to fit. You can take an aspirin, you can get a massage, you can do a lot of things to make the pain go away, but you know what? Those won't make this bone get back into alignment. Only this will do that. And that's the connection that we're really looking for, is how this unique gift, this tool can make this go away. So now they're looking for it. Now they get it. Now they want it. Right?
They almost need to have it proven to the, like, oh, well, you're in such pain. Let's try it. And then we'll see how it'll work. Or it's funny because there's a stigma, or there, at least in Maine there is. Here in Austin, everybody loves chiropractors. But in Maine, everyone's like, oh, it's all woo woo and it doesn't really do anything. And then I remember going to the chiropractor and going, well, it worked. So I don't know, like it worked. That's all I care. I don't care what they do. As long as it works for long term, then that's all I care about. And so I guess that's sort of the piece that you're saying too. Like, it does, as long as it works and you can prove that, then we have the connection we need.
We have the connection, and now there's some engagement. There's some interest. There's some mystery. Well, tell me more about this thing that you have. And how can I begin to use it or apply it, because now there's been some value created with it. So that's what I see mostly in business, is that people have these tools, these solutions. They know it works, but it hasn't been relayed over here. So we don't start with the tool, the thing. We start with their pain. We start with that emotional connection. We start with I can help you, right? And in personal growth, it's the same thing. I don't talk about processing belief systems. I don't talk about, their brainstem and cerebral cortex that's hanging on to these memories of pain and hurt and heartache. I deal with, so you can't pay your bills this month. How does that make you feel? So we get connected there. But I've got, because again, the part of the nervous system that's causing all this pain and this heartache and this stress has no clue what your bill is, or your spouse is, or what a kid is, or boss or job or anything else, right? And so that's the connection of the pain and the stress is rooted in something completely different other than what you perceive it to be.
I like that. Okay. So what's principle number 2?
You know what? There's the different names all sort of fall under more spiritual type principles.
Okay.
And so, I have a complete product or program that takes people through all the different, aspects and has different exercises with it. But they're more, and if you talk to somebody else, they may name them differently, and so I have different names that may not necessarily, connect with people or resonate with people. But we can certainly talk about some of the themes and ideas around that.
Okay.
If that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another scenario is, and I think this is a big one, in being the thing that you're looking for, right? And so now we're sort of into the whole law of attraction, right? And and I don't know if your audience gets into that, some
So some do. Let me ask you this, because that's the thing. So I'm super logical, right? And one of the reasons why I interview millionaires is I want to see what's working for them, right? And a lot of them actually use law of attraction. And so in my head, I go, as long as it works, I don't really care what it is. Just like chiropractor, as long as it works, I don't really care what it is. But I would love to know the science side behind the law of attraction. Because I mean, that's the funny thing, right? I have law of attraction cards here. My friends were like, oh, she's finally turning woo-woo because I bought law of attraction cards. I'm like, well, I don't know that I'd call myself that. But I do want to know, I'm still researching and figuring out like the science side of it, because it makes sense. And I see portions of it showing up in my life. And heck, if I'm happy and joyous and doing business and you know what I mean? That's all that really matters. Don't get me wrong. I love money too, but I'd much rather be happy. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's sort of the core principles of the law of attraction. If you feel good, then more things are attracted to you. So if you could give us sort of a download, because my audience does not know very much about this, and they might be very skeptical, just so you know. Some of them aren't. But why don't you give us sort of the download on what law of attraction is and how it works scientifically, because I want to know that stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I try to do here is our approach is always a combination of science and spirit, try to bridge the gap between those two things. And so if we get into the spiritual or the supernatural component, now we're talking quantum physics. So there's a body of science that can hang with that conversation, things that are subatomic or things that are smaller than what we can see and sense. And the nervous system, like I said, that's my baby, and so the nervous system works in when we talk about, and you mentioned it, this sense of feeling. If the law of attraction and this law of cause and effect is all based on vibration and frequency and resonant energies, then we know in that sort of that unseen dimension, like attracts like. Right. So the simple analogy in this dimension, if I hit this A string on the guitar here, there's a guitar across the room, that string starts to vibrate, the equal string, because there's a frequency or resonant energy that's present that those two connect. You've seen the commercials with the voice that you hit a certain pitch and all of a sudden the glass breaks. It's because that frequency pretty much nulled the frequency that was holding those glass molecules in place. And if that frequency goes away, there's nothing keeping it in place. So we see this, but yet this is all around us all the time, 24/7. And this law of attraction thing is essentially, that's its job. It's like, it's a big mirror. It says, what is Jaime resonating today? What's her most dominant frequency? What is she throwing out in the universe? Let's send that right back at her. And so at the very core, the ability to control thoughts and emotions we have. And that's the cool thing with our frontal lobe, our neocortex, at any moment and any time can say, I want to think about this and I want to feel like this. And so we do have control over that. The problem is most people don't exercise their frontal lobe like that. They use their frontal lobe to say, what do I got to do? What just happened? How do I respond? I got to solve this, put this fire out, whatever. And so that becomes our dominant energy. And the challenge is that we have a second mind called the subconscious mind that does only have one frequency. We say that's connected with the belief systems. And so belief systems always have a thought and emotion associated with them. So essentially what happens is, if we had the ability to just think positive things all day and think happy and feel positive emotions all day, well, then we're in control of our dominant energy. That's, pretty much impossible unless you sit in a cave and, all day.
What, I'm positive all the time. I never, ever think anything bad. No.
Right, exactly. And so now the connection is, well, what part of us is thinking constantly with this dominant energy? And that's the belief system. So essentially the two minds, the head and the heart, surface conscious, subconscious, potentially there's a conflict, because we usually are believing and feeling things at a heart level that we may not be considering at a head level. And that essentially becomes the dominant energy. So, things show up on our lives that we didn't plan, or we're wanting this, our goals and our dreams and our desires are focused on this with our little pea brain, conscious, but we have this huge, massive subconscious that says, no, you're not valuable, or you're not smart enough, or you don't trust people, or whatever else it's thinking about. Nobody said it's accurate. Nobody said it's right. Nobody said your subconscious is this all-knowing wizard that has all truth and insight. All we're saying, it's a computer that has taken in information from life experiences and decided this about you. And if that is in any way, shape, or form in conflict to the dreams and goals and desires, whether it's business, relationships, health, money, then 9 times out of 10, it ain't going to happen. So my work is based on, hey, let's bring the head and the heart together. Let's create alignment, just like I do in my office. The principle, right, of healing and health is alignment. We need proper neurological flow throughout the body. No interference, no blockages, no conflict. The body's going to heal every time for everybody. Personal growth is the exact same thing. When there's alignment, when there's congruency between what you want and what you believe, then things happen magically and effectively and consistently.
Same.
And so the first step is we call it breakthrough. Our 5-step system says breakthrough is first, and that's getting an awareness of the difference, the gap, if you will, between what you want, what you believe, and how can we begin to bring those things together. That's
that's the thing that's really annoying is that so bones, you can take pictures of, you can show the people, be like, look, you're out of alignment. Let me help you. Great. I remember my first chiropractic appointment. They were like, oh, look at this. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. Yes. Right. But subconscious, I can't go and see my subconscious and go, oh, by the way, these thoughts aren't good. Let's change them. I don't know how to change them, and I don't know how to but I see in general from clients of mine, I can tell if they have a belief structure that does not serve them, they will stop themselves every single time. So how do we take a picture of the subconscious and tweak it to our own will?
Great question. And here's the thing. Know that the subconscious, the nervous system in general, has one mandate, one operating system, one focus, which keeps things simple in that big conversation of this intangible belief thing. And that is your safety. All right. Safety is key. And whether it's keeping you alive, you look over in Arizona, we have the Grand Canyon, your heart's going to start jumping. You're not in your stomach, right? Your nervous system has no clue what the Grand Canyon is. It doesn't know you're looking over this massive hole in the ground, but it gets the sense that you're not safe. This is not good. There's something, and essentially it does the exact same thing with psychology or your identity. So the nervous system has a job. Its job is to keep you alive and keep your identity intact, right? And the cool thing is that it's so focused on that, it knows that if your heart stops beating, your lungs stop breathing, you die. And so its job is to keep those things going at all costs. But in the same way that can work against us is once a belief system is formed and a belief system is intact, nobody said if it's right, nobody said it's accurate, nobody said it's allowing you to fully expand your personal growth or transformation. All we said is that once a belief system is formed, your nervous system says, if this thing goes away, if this thing is allowed to disintegrate, then they'll die. So we can't let that happen. So the first question is, how do I expose my belief system? Well, that's part of it. It's subconscious. Your conscious mind can't go about it in a logical process. And that's, this is the big thing with personal development. People say, oh, the reason you're struggling financially is because you have a limiting belief about money. Well, that's impossible because your belief system doesn't know what money is. So how can you have a belief system about money if your subconscious mind doesn't know what it is, right? Huh. So we don't change belief systems about people, relationships, money, business, or anything. Belief system only has one job: keep you safe. So what I say is the reason you don't have what you want in life is not because you're not smart enough, not because you're not working hard enough, not because you're diligent and perseverant. It's because your nervous system doesn't think it's safe for you. And a lot of times people are just like, well, what do you mean? How can more time, money, love, peace, freedom, joy be unsafe? Let's go ask your subconscious, because that's where it got offline. For at some point, it's accepted that safety is being broke. Safety is being alone. Safety is having, sickness and disease. Safety is struggling through life without purpose. Nobody said it was logical, rational, reasonable, but no one said your subconscious functions on logic and ration. Your conscious mind all day long. So that's the first part for us analytical people, is to say, the thing that's running the ship, the thing that's motivating my behaviors and my thoughts and my feelings is not logical. It's safety driven. And if for some reason I'm struggling to grow my business or keep my relationships intact or whatever else, then obviously my nervous system perceives and has identified this thing that I want, I dream for, I hope for, as not safe for me. Let's go find out what that is, right? Let's go help the nervous system redefine what safety is, versus bulldozing it over and say, you will believe that I'm successful. You're a money magnet. You will attract, your ideals, whatever else, right? And sometimes it works if you really push it and you meditate, hypnosis, and visualization, meditation, affirmations. These are all techniques a lot of personal growth use, and temporarily can sort of sway the subconscious into accepting some of these things, but ultimately it's short-lived because it sort of resets back to those patterns. So the first thing that people need to connect with is your belief system feels that it's doing a really good job for you. It's not out to sabotage you. You don't have limiting beliefs or self-sabotaging beliefs. You have safety beliefs. And so it's a safety system that's been set up. And now it's a process of retraining. The first step of breakthrough in our system is, how is your nervous system define safety, right? And now what are the steps to begin to redefine safety?
How do you find those out? Like, how do you ask yourself those questions, especially from subconscious?
And so the link between, we call it the special world or the unseen world of the subconscious mind that deals with, frequency, vibration, energy, emotions, and those things, and the real world of, life and everything that we got going on. The things that we look for, the clues, the hints that we put our detective hat on to connect with those belief systems are patterns and perceptions. So the first thing is patterns of, different guy, different girl, same feelings, same result. I trusted them and they broke the trust, or, they stole for whatever, right? It's a pattern or a cycle of experiences that we call it the Groundhog Day or the hamster wheel. It doesn't matter what business I'm running. uh, nobody values my service, or, whatever. So the first thing we look for is patterns, because again, the subconscious mind is focusing on that sort of cycle of energy. If there's a pattern of low self-worth or low self-value, or I'm not lovable, I'm disconnected, the subconscious gets that energy. And so it simply reflects that. It doesn't care what job or what person. It has a mandate to make sure you keep feeling those same experiences regardless of what you're doing. And a lot of people can connect with that. So that's the first thing the conscious mind is on the lookout for, are what are the reoccurring patterns in my life? And the second thing is the perceptions. And perceptions are closely tied with emotions. When I hear this, when I experience this, when I go through this thing, I feel this way. And this emotion is connected with some sort of meaning or perception about you. Again, the part of you that's causing these emotions doesn't know who your spouse is, your kid is, your boss is, the job, the economy, the government, nothing. Oh, but it knows about you, and it knows what's important and meaningful to you. And so as we teach people to sort of get connected with these emotions and feelings. And the first question is, what does that mean about you? If it's true, if the part of you that just generated that emotion has no clue what you just heard, saw, or experienced, then this emotion has to be rooted in something deeper. And that deeper sense is this, again, what is it doing is trying to keep us safe. It knows standing on the ledge of the Grand Canyon is a threat, but it also knows that when you don't feel loved or valued or appreciated or respected, that's a threat too. And so now we begin to ask that question is, okay, well, what does, because I feel so bad right now, because of what I do, because you put 10 people in the same experience, are they all going to have the same emotion? No, because they all have a different nervous system and they all have different perceptions of what that meaningless experience actually means. And so the question becomes, especially when there's a lot of emotion around it, right? Because again, 10 people, 5 of them get totally set off in a negative pattern. The other 3, I don't care. And there's no energy at all. The other 2, it's like, wow, that was really cool. So we have this huge range of perceptions of this exact same thing. And our logical, rational mind says, I'm feeling this way and I'm thinking this thing and I'm acting or behaving in such fashion because of what I just heard, which means you caused it, which is impossible. Right? Based on what we just said. If the event or the experience was truly the cause, then every human being would have the exact same experience.
Yeah.
So our goal with this is opening up the treasure chest of that heart, beginning to find out all its secrets and hidden treasures. We got to speak its language. We have to acknowledge and honor what it's thinking about. And the only thing it's thinking about is your safety, not your money, not your relationships, right?
Yeah, this is something that I worked on before for a while, because when I was younger, I used to think emotions were dumb, which I was like, I am logical. I am, emotions are silly. They're pointless, which worked for a really long time. And then it was like, oh, well, wait a minute. And so that's been something that I've been working on for the past few years in general, because I beforehand sort of pushed them all away and was like, no, I'm cool. You can't get a charge out of me. You can't, whatever it is, which was really, really beneficial. Don't get me wrong, for a long time. And then I started going, well, that now I don't know how I feel about things, which isn't good. Right. So I'd be like, what do you feel about that? I'm like, and I'd push away all the emotion. And so that was something that I really worked on, and I'm still working on, to try and get better and better. But I feel way more in tune with that now than I ever used to. So now it makes a lot of sense for me, listening to you, of going, okay, this makes sense, because when a certain emotion comes up, there's a reason for it, and you have to figure out what the heck it is, right? It was way easier to push it away before. Now I'm like, crap, what does that mean? I don't even know.
Yeah, excellent. Good for you. And your experience is I mean, there it's epidemic in a sense, because again, our nervous system is driven for two things: pursue pleasure, avoid pain. And of those two things, avoiding pain is 80% a stronger drive. And again, it doesn't differentiate between physical pain and emotional pain. The parts of the brain that get lit up, whether someone's beating you across the back with the whip or someone just said you're stupid, the same part, both are painful, one physically, one psychologically. And so now the nervous system has a job: avoid pain. We don't like this. Let's run away from this, or let's get really good at suppressing our emotions. Let's get really good at stuffing them down and shoving them away, right? Because we don't want to experience pain. So it's a protective mechanism, and it does an excellent job. The problem is, here's the thing. You're not your nervous system. You're not your emotions. You're not your thoughts, right? You're not your beliefs. You're not your behaviors. Those are all functions of the nervous system, and it's doing it for a reason, right? And so once again, the physical analogy, if a patient comes in and they have a cramp in their leg, well, two responses: I can get really pissed off at my leg and really upset because my leg is causing all this pain and hurt and heartache, and I'm getting all, upset and emotional about it, and I just want the pain to go away, right? Or I can say, thank you, leg. I really appreciate you bringing to my attention that I haven't been taking care of you. There's something out of alignment. There's something that's not in balance. And you're just trying to get my attention through this cramp. How many different causes for that cramp? Low electrolytes, overtraining, dehydrated. So the pain is actually a blessing. The pain is letting me know that the body can't fix itself, and neither because in your subconscious mind, right? So your higher consciousness, your higher self has to come in and say, let's find out what that's about. Oh, yeah, it was my electrolyte imbalance. Thank you again so much, cramp. Even though you caused me a lot of pain, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, so now we can help. Emotions are the exact same thing. Thank you, subconscious. Thank you, heart, for causing all this fear, worry, frustration, depression, anger, sadness, which tells me something's out of balance about me, which tells me and lets me know that I've accepted a belief system about myself that's not accurate, that's not in alignment, that's not a true expression of who I really am. Thank you so much, really bad emotion, for bringing that to my attention. So now we can work together to find that truth, to find really the treasure. And that's the other cool thing is the nervous system works in dualities, right? You can't have a really bad emotion unless there's a really powerful truth that's on the other side of it. And so again, just suppressing those emotions means that, yeah, I don't feel that pain. My emotions don't take me out. I can push through it and gut through it. No, nothing, phases me. Oh, but I also will never discover that gift. I will never discover the truth, right? The joy, the happiness, the love that's on the other side of that fear, worry, depression, anger. And that's really ultimately the key, knowing that first and foremost, it's a gift. It's an opportunity at hand when those emotions show up for self-discovery. For two reasons. One, to help the heart heal so you don't have those emotions anymore. And two, even better, to find that treasure, that gift that was on the other side of it. And that's ultimately the key for true sustained growth. In our system, we talk about immediate growth, sustainable growth, and reproducible growth. Not these cycles and waves of, oh, I did my affirmation, visualization, and meditation, and I made this happen, but I don't know how the hell I can do that again, or, how to reproduce that. I call it a faith accident. Things showed up, but I don't know how to do it again. Versus the principle, knowing the principle, I don't have to understand how the earth turns that seed into a plant, but I know I got to plant it, water it, right? There's things I have to follow, and I can do it again and again and again. And that's part of the process.
Okay, and that's what everyone wants to know. So that's the thing, because relaying it to business and stuff like that, like you said, we don't want this ebb and flow, both for personal growth. I can see that being an issue, but also in business, people are like, oh, push, 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 push. I kind of know, crap, now I need to sell. Oh,
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a really bumpy road. And a lot of people want to make it less bumpy as much as possible. So being a performance coach, how can we relay all this information on emotions and stuff like that into daily life in business?
So always, again, going right back to those patterns, the first thing is I'm not, we use these two realms, the ordinary world of stuff and the special world of energy. And we first look at, every time this situation happens in my practice, example, it would totally take me out when patients would quit. And so it's like, don't they know, don't they understand they need their adjustment? And it's not just for pain. And, I have so much information and their lives would be so much better, right? But they would quit and I'd be like, oh, it would always take me out. And obviously it would, the emotion, the energy was a combination of, yeah, they didn't do what I told them to do and follow my instructions, some control issues there. And the other scenario was like, yeah, I just lost a bunch of money because they quit care, And for me, once I sort of saw this pattern, did the same process, I looked behind the scene. Okay, I have a lot of emotion, but the part of me that's generating this emotion doesn't know what a patient is, doesn't know what chiropractic is, doesn't know what a treat, doesn't know any of that. So what is it about? What does this mean? And when I was asking that question, the answer, my heart gave me the answer, was this idea of I didn't feel I was smart enough. It because they quit meant that I was stupid. That didn't feel good, and people said, Dr. Matt told me to do this and it costs this much, but I'm not going to follow through because I want him to know he's so stupid. As if that was their motivation, right? As if really they could care less about me. It was, who knows why they quit, but yet that's what my filter was doing. That my belief system
not
said,
good enough, not smart enough,
when this experience, right? And so the process for me, once I saw that pattern, right, was now my logical mind came in to work with the heart. And the conversation was, is every human being going to listen to you and do exactly what you say? What's the chance of that happening? Right?
I wish.
And so the heart's like, okay, yeah, I guess not. Right. And just because this is a big question in my system, just because, it felt bad or I perceived that was going on, does that really mean that I'm stupid? Does it really mean that I wasn't smart enough to be able to communicate or teach or relay how important their care was, And so that began my process. And so now I was looking for that pattern. And I first knew that I had to let go of people are going to quit. People are going to have so many, maybe they move, they die, they lose their job. I mean, the infinite number of reasons why they quit that has absolutely nothing to do with my intelligence or my ability to communicate what they needed and how they needed. That still hurts, don't get me wrong, but now the pain was associated with this person is not benefiting from what I have for them. That hurts, that makes me feel bad. But the bad feeling wasn't associated with, my stupidity or I wasn't smart enough. In fact, this is that duality. I said, okay, I now discovered what's really important to me. Helping people know and understand this process. So if that's really important to me, what steps can I take to be a more effective communicator or develop skills to see when people are getting taken out or, whatever. So it caused me to begin to develop those aspects of it, right? And so, it's the combination. So what I would say is, yeah, people look, step back from a more of a special world or unseen world perspective and just begin to look at those patterns, look at those areas of business that really take them out. Because I guarantee if I walked in their business, we'd see a whole different set of situations or circumstances. And that And that's part of it's actually the thalamus that creates a filter. We literally can only see and perceive from our reality what that part of the brain allows us to see. And so, there may be a procedure or protocol that's sitting right in front of our face, but because we're sort of, been conditioned to only see certain things and perceive things, then, we completely miss it. And so understanding that, even though, our intentions may be good and we all want to grow our business and improve things, our nervous system is essentially our greatest nemesis, because it's trying to, as I say, you don't have what you want in life because the nervous system doesn't perceive it safe for you. And what's the greatest threat to your nervous system is change. Growth, more time, more money, more freedom, whatever you want more of, just know right off the bat, your nervous system ain't in agreement with it, because it means homeostasis and balance is now upset. Your nervous system is fine with you being broke and alone and depressed. It makes no judgment on that. It's your head that, steps in and says, this is not good and I got to change it. And all we say is, before you go run off trying to change everything, get connected with those patterns and perceptions that really ultimately are running the ship and driving everything. And those things need to come into agreement and in alignment first.
What are the best action steps to do that? Because that's the thing that's difficult, is even somebody listening might be like, that's awesome and I agree, and I should look at my subconscious and the patterns that I have, and then they won't. I'm looking at you guys, I know you won't actually do it. So what can we have them do that feels simple enough that they can do it? Because I'm sure as people are going, well, that's great for him because he does this for a living, and of course he can see patterns, right? But me, it's harder for me to see my own patterns as I'm going through. It's harder to see my own emotions and what they're causing when I'm in it versus being on the outside looking in. So what can they do to start uncovering that?
Yeah. And again, great question. And so in order for change to occur, if we're keeping it really simple and based on this idea of safety, right? And just like the cramp, if I ignored the cramp and I just went in and started treating the cramp, then treating the symptom of the cramp and not the cause, what do I know for sure about that cramp?
Usually it won't go away. It'll keep coming back.
It won't it's going to come back again, right? And so, now we're dealing with this intangible thing of beliefs and emotions and thoughts that we can't, it's not like a cramp I can rub out a belief system. So the idea of safety, knowing that that's its main concern, that's its mandate, that's its operating system, simply by listening, simply by being aware, simply by taking that moment to, interesting, I just thought that thought. Interesting, I'm feeling this. Interesting that whenever this situation comes up, this is what I do. And that alone is, neuroscience research has shown that those it's called the amygdala. It's our fear center. It's the general that's out there protecting us, shows that the firing starts to decrease. Okay. And the amygdala, when the amygdala is activated, it actually can override logic and rational thinking and normal behavior. And so just by being aware, and it sounds simple, but it's a huge step to give a strong signal to your nervous system that says, I'm listening. I understand you're afraid right now. You're freaking out. It's almost like, my analogy when the doorbell rings, what does your dog start doing?
Barking.
He starts barking, right? And what's the first thing you tell your dog?
Be quiet. Yeah.
Shut up. Right. It's the exact same thing. So the emotions, as they start getting triggered, is that sign that your nervous system is a little freaked out. It feels threatened by whatever just happened. And again, unless you're standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, as I tell my community, you have no right to feel that way because you're really not being threatened. It just, to your nervous system, not having money, not being able to pay the bill, you just got, your pink slip or your, bankruptcy note, whatever. These will not kill you. Oh, but your nervous system perceives that they will, and that's why it's showing up. So the first thing is get the dog to calm down. And simply by being aware of that, okay, this is what's going on in my nervous system. This is what I'm feeling. An even more powerful technique is to journal. So, right before you go to bed or right before you get up, just start journaling the thoughts and feelings and behaviors. That first step is really the step that begins to open up the door. It creates some calmness, creates some safety. And then from there, we're looking for specific patterns. And yeah, so it's absolutely a process. But in business, then what you do is now the head comes in and says, okay, this is how my nervous system shows up with these situations. Let's brainstorm on some other thoughts or feelings or behaviors that I could have instead of this one, right? Mm-hmm. Come together as a group, come together as a team. We do this all the time in my office. Again, we call them situationals. Okay, this patient said this is what happened. How did you perceive that? What showed up for you, right? And so everybody comes up with their stuff. And then in that moment, we can turn around and say, well, yeah, I see that a lot with you, right? And so what's that about? What's that response for? Why is that so important? You thought that or whatever. And really begin to get some ideas as to just hearing somebody else's response. It's like, wow, I never thought of that. Of course, because that's their nervous system. Your nervous system will only allow you to think, feel, and behave the way it's been trained, the way it's been programmed, right? And the other scenario is oftentimes those gifts and those abilities are very apparent in things that have no risk, right? So when we go through our process and we find that treasure, people begin to say, oh yeah, I do that all the time with strangers or my family or somebody when there's no money on the line and those risk of failure, rejection, or anything like that. Our gifts just sort of flow, right? Because there's no potential threat with it. So the duality of it is look for those areas of life that feel really, really good. What areas of life make you feel really loved and valued and appreciated and connected, which is the exact opposite of those negative emotions that make you feel unloved, unvalued, and disconnected. And once you connect with that experience, your puppy or your child, or, when you got that raise or whatever it is, that experience, now your nervous system perceives, now that good feeling is there, that warm fuzzy, right? And it's called association. You take that real live memory or experience and you bring that into that business situation that you're looking to grow or looking to change, because now your nervous system says, hold on. Well, before when that came up, I was supposed to feel afraid and stressed out, but you're saying now I've got a new emotion or feeling associated with that same thing. It creates a little disconnect, which is the first part of it's called neuroplasticity, creating a new neural pathway around that same experience. So it's called association, coming up with a memory, something that exists, it's tangible. When you think of this thing or go through this thing, makes you feel really good, those positive emotions. Once you're in that state, you bring that over to this situation or this goal or this thing that you're looking to grow in. Do you follow?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. It reminds me of going to see Tony Robbins, and he was like, make your move. And he's like, get in the state. And it's all about like getting in the state and then bringing it to, other pieces of your life. Because if you can pull it from one, you know that feeling so well, you can bring it somewhere else.
Correct. And to the nervous system, again, it doesn't know those things, but you can't be safe and feel bad, right? Feeling good is safety, and that's all your nervous system is concerned with. Mm-hmm. So we do that. The technique is working with the nervous system. It's like, how can I feel safe around closing this deal, making these calls, partnering up with some, whatever is going on, or whatever challenge that we're up against. Well, I know everything. I did my due diligence. It makes sense. It looks good. There's no reason I shouldn't be trusting somebody, but I got all this stuff going on because the nervous system has been triggered from past things that didn't work out so well. And again, that's its job. It takes stuff that's going on in the present and searches for the files and says, hey, you're talking about money right now. And remember that last time you went into that and they screwed you over, right? That's where the emotions literally, and that's true. It's, anytime we have those negative emotions, really all is what's happening is we're reliving a past experience. The nervous system just pulled out the file and says, here you go. This is how you're supposed to feel right now because this looks really similar to that, right? If your nervous system can't find a file, then even if someone put a gun to your head, if you didn't know what a gun is, you'd be like, oh, what's that? That's interesting, right? No, no fear. It's like our nervous system forces us to live in the past, which is the definition of present safety, right? So we have to begin to, and so that's a very powerful technique to at least acknowledge and honor that right now my nervous system doesn't feel safe, but I've decided we need to go here and we need to do this. So my nervous system needs to get into alignment with this. So let's help it feel safe about this from this past experience.
And it's funny. I loved your analogy with a dog. All I can think of is the dog, because my kids used to play with the doorbell all the time, right? And the dog was conditioned to the doorbell, not the people coming to the door. So you'd hit the doorbell, and the dog would freak out, and you're like, "Come on, will you just be quiet?" But being able to know that you're the conscious going, "Okay, chill, dog, you're fine. There's nobody here. There's nothing." That's what we need to be thinking of as these things come up, which takes some time and some practice, but it's definitely worth some effort.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a skill set, and that's why I said just start by being more aware. This idea of you're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. It's, I when I travel and I teach, I always give the analogy, when you're hungry, your stomach growls, but you don't say, I'm growling. You say, my stomach's growling, and everybody laughs. You're like, yeah, why would I say that? Because you're not your stomach. Oh, but you say things like, I'm afraid, I'm stressed, I'm worried, I'm depressed, I'm angry. No, you're not. Your nervous system is. You can't be those things. Your nervous system can be those all day long, right? And in fact, that's its job. Like I said, 80% more wired to look for what could go wrong, will go wrong, may go wrong. That's why we think negative thoughts all the time, because our brain's been wired to do that.
Yeah.
But you're not your brain. You're not your thoughts, right? You can observe them and be aware of them. And that's ultimately, again, research has shown is that will, the nervous system, it's like an overprotective mother. The mother is only about your safety, but she'll harp on you, look both ways before you cross the street, right? And so the best way to shut mom up, Mom, I hear you. Thank you so much for being so concerned and loving and looking out for my protection and safety by making sure I look both ways across the street. I get it, right? Mom's going to shut up as soon as she knows you get it. And your nervous system is the exact same way. When you try to put off your worries and stress and fears because your business and your money and your kids, your relationships and everything in the ordinary world, the nervous system's like, they're not getting it. They think their issues are around their stuff when the issue is much deeper around who have I accepted I am? What beliefs have I allowed in that's not true and accurate and truly support me, right? And even that, the belief systems are, as I say, if we use the term limiting belief, it's simply an acceptance of a lower expression of who you are, right? And so that's why we don't change money beliefs, relationship, or anything, because the nervous system doesn't know what that is. What we expand is the truth about who we are. This idea that we all have gifts and strengths and abilities. We're here for a purpose and abundance, just like health is our natural state of being. And we know when we're not experiencing our natural state, it hurts, right? And same with wealth. Wealth is our natural state of being. How do we know when we're not experiencing that highest state? It feels bad. We're worried about our money and our retirement and our net worth and all this stuff, right? And so our emotions are a huge gift as a pathway, a direction to that treasure chest.
Emotions are a gift. Yes, took me a very long time to learn. I'm reading a great book called Mindsight too, which is the neuroscience. Have you ever read that book?
I haven't. No.
It's this neuroscience between the thought and the emotion, and that it is separate. Like we are. Like, I love the fact that you said that we are not our nervous system. I wish we could like name it something shorter than our nervous system, so that way we don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, my stomach's growling. Oh, my nervous system is feeling this way, right? But if we could just identify it a little bit better. So I know we have to start wrapping up. So what's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
Say that question again. Something that
oh, sure. Cut.
Go ahead.
What's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
And I think I'm going to stick with what makes them feel really, really good. What is that experience that when they think about it and remember it, this deep sense of love, value, and appreciation, and connect that with a vision, right? Because that's the other thing we know about the nervous system is that its language is pictures. We can say $1 million, or we can picture a $1 million yacht or a mansion or whatever. And the other piece is, and I highly recommend that people do, experience that wealth for themselves, so that connects. But we also, neuroscience research has also shown that the highest level of pleasure, we have pleasure and pain. That's the nervous system, really simple. The highest level of pleasure a human being can experience is when they actually contribute tangibly to someone else's needs. So connecting the purpose of wealth and money is huge. So we got our businesses, but what's the purpose of that? Why is it so important? We need to make this money and build this business. What's the use of our money? And the nervous system really gets connected with that. So feeling really good about business and where you're going and why it's so important, get connected with that.
Oh, I love that. I like to tell people too that the reason why we want to be millionaires is not just for the money, but the person that you'll become. Like imagine how many people you can help. Imagine when your brain thinks at the highest level humanly possible, right? You can do so much more. You can help you get water. You can help, you know what I mean? You can help do all those things on such a bigger scale. And that's what everybody wants. So thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
No, and that's what I'm saying is that it totally speaks the language of the nervous system, the fulfillment and the pleasure centers when you give and you help somebody who's starving or get water, whatever. It just there's nothing like it.
Life's purpose, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Dr. Matt. I really, really appreciate it. Where can we find out more about you and your book and all that?
Thank you so much. Yeah, the best way is it's quantumemergence.com. That's our website. A lot of free stuff there, and we offer some free coaching and strategy sessions just to connect with people personally. And our calendar of events and other products are all there as well. So quantumemergence.com. We got Facebook links and all that's there as well.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link that up so everyone check that out. And thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Welcome, Jamie. Pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want more like it, go to eventualmillionaire.com. If you click on the millionaire case studies, you will see over 200 millionaire interviews. I don't want you to get overwhelmed, of course, but I do want you to pick the one that might make the biggest difference in your business today. So what's something you're struggling with, and take a look and see if one of those could specifically help you. Don't just take information for information's sake. I want you to be able to take the information, have it applicable to you right now. You use it, you take action, you see results, you come back and go, Jamie, that was amazing. That's what I want. So go check out eventualmillionaire.com and click on the millionaire case studies. Thanks.